I think the biggest difference between racism in America and racism in South Africa is I find that South African racism is and was a lot more blatant, and so there's more of an acknowledgement of it as an idea. And I always say to people, I know it's strange to say this, but I often think that was the greatest gift the apartheid government gave us, is that it was there, it was happening to you, it wasn't hidden. So you were just like, we don't want this. People would fight, stop this apartheid, it's racism. And then the government would be like, yes, of course it is racism. That's what we're doing to you. The blacks must not do this. But then what happened in America is, you hit that period where like they started changing things. I don't know if it was around Nixon, and they were like, oh, we've got to be silent about this. And then it wasn't blatant anymore. And so I always thought that's a terrible thing to do to people, because now people have to be like detectives of their own racism. They have to figure it out. So let me give you an example. In South Africa, the government would just say, blacks cannot live in these areas. You're black, you don't live here. Now I'm black, I don't live here. I don't like it, but I don't live here. You get what I'm saying? But then in America, you'd be like, can I get a home loan? And they'd be like, no. And you'd be like, why? And they'd be like, and then you just start realizing, you're like, wow, how come the black people all seem to only be able to get houses in these areas, but not in these areas? And these school districts are better. How come the money is going here? How come? And you get what I'm saying? And I know it sounds strange to say, but I think there's something liberating about fighting an obvious enemy as opposed to one that you have to prove exists. That's probably the biggest difference between America and, I think the biggest